The challenge. The Centauri Combat Federation's Grand Arena hung like a crystal teardrop in high orbit above Alpha Centauri b, its transparent walls offering a spectacular view of the star's azure glow. Inside, representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered for what they believed would be humanity's greatest humiliation. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, her dark eyes reflecting the starlight as she studied the arena below. Unlike the hulking or ethereal alien forms around her, she appeared deceptively ordinary. Average height, athletic build, no visible augmentations or enhancements. To the aliens watching her, she looked fragile, vulnerable, human. That was exactly what she wanted them to think. Commander Chen, a melodious voice chimed behind her. The Council of Champions requests your presence. Sarah turned to face a luminary, a being of pure energy contained within a humanoid form of crystalline matter. Ambassador Catal, if she remembered correctly. Their kind served as mediators in the Centauri Combat Federation, primarily because they were physically incapable of deception. Time for the formal challenge. Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. The entire galaxy had been building toward this moment for months. The council chamber was a massive amphitheater, its walls lined with holographic displays showing battles from 1,000 worlds. Sarah's footsteps echoed as she walked to the center, where 5 distinct figures awaited her. Each represented the apex of their species' combat evolution. First stood Xerxes, a titan of Proxima, 12 feet of living metal and crystalline muscle. His kind had evolved on a high-gravity world, making them nearly indestructible by human standards. Next was Vira, a Nephilim assassin whose translucent skin rippled with bioelectric currents. The third champion, Kralfak, belonged to the insectoid swarm collective, his chitinous armor gleaming with neural enhancement nodes. Beside him, the fourth champion, a quantum shade named Echo, seemed to exist in multiple places at once, their form shifting between dimensions. Finally, there was Zerakai, last of the Genesis warriors, whose nanite-infused blood gave her perfect adaptability to any combat situation. The luminary ambassador floated forward, their crystalline form pulsing with official declarations. Commander Sarah Chen of Earth, you stand before the 5 greatest warriors in the Centauri Combat Federation. They challenge humanity's claim to independent status among the galactic community. Sarah nodded, her expression neutral. I understand. The terms are simple. Xerxes rumbled, his metallic voice resonating through the chamber. Survive 3 minutes against all of us. No weapons, no armor, no augmentations, just you in your fragile human form against the 5 of us. If you succeed, Vira added, her voice crackling with bioelectric energy, Earth maintains its sovereignty. If you fail, she left the threat hanging. When you fail, Kralfak chittered, your species will accept its proper place under our protection. Humans are simply too primitive to be left to their own devices. The chamber erupted in murmurs of agreement. To them, this wasn't even a real contest. It was a formality, a way to put the upstart humans in their place. Humanity had achieved faster than light travel only 30 years ago, and already they were demanding equal status with species that had been spacefaring for millennia. Sarah's lips curved into a slight smile. One question, if I may. Echo's multidimensional form coalesced briefly. Speak. The 3 minutes. Does it have to be consecutive, or does it count if I end this in 30 seconds? The chamber fell silent. Then, gradually, laughter began to ripple through the audience. Even the champions seemed amused by her audacity. Your species' hubris is remarkable, Zerakai said, her nanite-enhanced eyes scanning Sarah's body. You truly believe you stand a chance. Sarah shrugged. I believe in human ingenuity. We've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own worst impulses. We've turned our weaknesses into strengths, our limitations into advantages. You see us as primitive because we don't have your physical capabilities, but you've never understood our greatest weapon. And what would that be? Xerxes demanded. "The fact that you underestimate us." Sarah turned to the luminary ambassador. "I accept the challenge. Tomorrow, in the arena, I'll show you exactly what humanity is capable of." As she walked out of the chamber, Sarah could feel their dismissive stares. They thought she was walking to her doom, but she knew better. Humans had always been at their best when backed into a corner, when faced with impossible odds. Tomorrow, she would remind the galaxy why. The preparation. Sarah stood in her preparation chamber, her mind focused on the task ahead. The room was sparse, just a meditation mat and a holographic display showing detailed analysis of her opponents. She had spent months studying their combat styles, their weaknesses, their tendencies, but more importantly, she had studied their assumptions. The door chimed, and Admiral James Chen, her father, entered. His weathered face showed concern beneath his carefully maintained military composure. "The Joint Chiefs are worried," he said without preamble. "They think we should have sent someone with enhancements." Sarah continued her stretching routine, her movements precise and measured. "The whole point is to show them we don't need enhancements. That's what they've never understood about us." She walked to the holographic display, pulling up footage of Xerxes in combat. The Titan of Proxima moved with devastating power, his crystalline muscles capable of shattering reinforced battle armor. "Look at him, Dad. Every move is a killing blow. He's never learned to hold back because he's never needed to." The display shifted to show Vira, the Nephilim assassin, her bioelectric attacks leaving opponents convulsing. And her perfect precision, but she relies entirely on her natural weapons. "Take those away. You're going to use their strengths against them," her father realized, studying the footage. "But Sarah, they're 5 of the deadliest beings in the galaxy. Even if you can counter 1 or 2. I don't need to beat them," Sarah reminded him. "I just need to survive. And humans," she smiled, "we're very good at surviving." She pulled up another display, this one showing Earth's historical battles. "Remember what you taught me about human warfare. We've never been the strongest, the fastest, or the most durable, but we've survived against predators that could tear us apart, environments that should have killed us, diseases that nearly wiped us out, and every time, we adapted." The holographic displays merge, showing all 5 champions simultaneously. They think this challenge is about physical combat. It's not. It's about psychology. About understanding your opponents so well that you can make them defeat themselves. Admiral Chen watched his daughter analyze the footage, her eyes catching details others might miss. He remembered her as a child, always asking why, always looking for the patterns others overlooked. "You've already figured out how to win, haven't you?" "I figured it out the moment they made the challenge." Sarah turned off the displays. They chose 5 champions because they wanted to showcase their superiority, but they didn't consider what that choice reveals about them. "What do you mean?" 5 different species, 5 different combat styles, 5 different egos. Sarah's smile turned predatory. "They're not a team, Dad. They're 5 apex predators forced to work together. And that's their weakness." She returned to her meditation mat, closing her eyes. "Humanity didn't become the dominant species on Earth because we were the strongest. We did it because we understood our limitations and found ways to overcome them. Tomorrow, I'm going to remind the galaxy that underestimating humans is a very, very bad idea." Admiral Chen studied his daughter for a moment longer. "The whole planet is watching, Sarah. No pressure." She opened one eye, grinning. "Pressure? Please. I'm about to have the most fun I've had since that time I had to escape from the Martian prison riots." As her father left, Sarah returned to her meditation. In her mind, she ran through the sequence again. Every move, every reaction, every counter. The aliens thought they were testing humanity's combat prowess. Instead, she was going to give them a lesson in human ingenuity. The arena. The arena hummed with energy as thousands of spectators from across the galaxy gathered to witness what they believed would be humanity's humiliation. The combat zone was a circular platform 500 feet in diameter, surrounded by energy fields that would prevent any combatant from leaving or any attacks from reaching the audience. The luminary ambassador's voice resonated through the arena. Champions of the Centauri Combat Federation, take your positions. The 5 alien warriors entered from different points around the arena's perimeter. Xerxes' crystalline form caught the light, sending rainbow refractions across the platform. Vyra seemed to glide forward, her bioelectric field creating visible distortions in the air. Kralthak's chitinous armor clicked rhythmically as he moved, while Echo's quantum-shifted form rippled between dimensions. Zerakay's nanite-enhanced body flowed like liquid metal, adapting to the arena's atmosphere. And now, the ambassador announced, representing Earth and humanity, Commander Sarah Chen. Sarah walked out to complete silence. No cheers, no boos, just thousands of alien eyes watching with a mixture of curiosity and contempt. She took her position at the center of the arena, her posture relaxed but alert. The terms remain as agreed. The ambassador continued. Commander Chen must survive for 3 minutes against all 5 champions. No weapons, no armor enhancements, no external assistance. Champions, you are forbidden from delivering fatal strikes, but any other form of combat is permitted. Xerxes' crystalline voice echoed across the arena. Last chance to withdraw, human. There's no shame in admitting your limitations. Sarah rolled her shoulders, loosening her muscles. You know what I find interesting? None of you asked why I was so confident about lasting only 30 seconds. The champions exchanged glances. It was Vyra who spoke, her bioelectric field crackling. Your bravado is meaningless. In 30 seconds, you'll be looking at 5 unconscious champions. Sarah interrupted. Yeah, probably. Before anyone could respond, the ambassador raised their crystalline form. The trial begins in 3, 2, 1. A deep tone resonated through the arena. The moment it faded, all 5 champions moved at once, exactly as Sarah had predicted. Xerxes charged forward, his crystalline bulk promising to end the fight with a single blow. Vyra disappeared in a blur of speed, while Kralthak's armor began emitting neural disruption fields. Echo split into multiple quantum states, and Zerakay's nanites formed into offensive configurations. Sarah didn't move, not at first. Her eyes tracked each opponent, her breath steady, her muscles coiled and ready. 5 apex predators, each expecting to prove their superiority. Each about to learn a crucial lesson about human nature. 10 seconds, she said quietly, then exploded into action. She didn't try to dodge Xerxes' charge. Instead, she took a single step forward, placing herself precisely between him and Vyra's approaching blur. At the last possible moment, she dropped and rolled, using the smooth arena floor to her advantage. Xerxes, committed to his charge and unable to stop his momentum, collided with Vyra just as she emerged from her speed rush. The impact sent bioelectric energy cascading across his crystalline form, the feedback throwing both champions off balance. But Sarah was already moving. She had calculated that Kralthak's neural disruption field would take exactly 2.3 seconds to reach full power, which meant she had 2.2 seconds to use it to her advantage. She sprinted straight at the insectoid warrior, causing him to intensify the field. Predictable, she muttered, changing direction at the last instant. The enhanced neural field washed over Echo's quantum forms, disrupting their coherence and forcing them to collapse into a single vulnerable state. 20 seconds had passed. 2 champions were temporarily incapacitated. One was struggling with friendly fire damage, and another had lost their primary advantage. Only Zerakay remained fully combat-ready, her nanite-enhanced body morphing into offensive configurations. Zerakay's nanites formed a defensive barrier, but Sarah was counting on that too. The Genesis warrior's perfect adaptability was also her greatest weakness. She couldn't help but respond to threats in the most efficient way possible. Lesson 2, Sarah called out, deliberately loud enough for all to hear. The most sophisticated systems are often the easiest to manipulate. She feinted left, then right, each movement causing Zeraka's nanites to shift and adapt. Behind them, Xerxes was recovering from the bioelectric shock, his crystalline form crackling with residual energy. Vyra was already back on her feet, fury evident in her glowing eyes. 25 seconds, Sarah announced, her voice carrying across the arena. The audience was dead silent now, watching in disbelief as their champion struggled to coordinate against a single unarmed human. Kralfak charged forward, his neural disruption field still active. Sarah didn't evade. Instead, she ran straight toward him, then past him, positioning herself so that his field would wash over Zeraka's nanite defenses. The microscopic machines went haywire, their perfect adaptability turning against them as they tried to respond to contradictory neural signals. Lesson 3. Complexity multiplies failure points. Echo had reformed, their quantum state stabilizing, but Sarah had anticipated this too. She rolled under Xerxes' retaliatory swing, causing him to stumble directly into Echo's materialization point. The quantum warrior's reformed state collided with solid crystal, sending destructive harmonics through both of their bodies. 28 seconds, Sarah called out, her breathing controlled and steady. Lesson 4. Victory doesn't always mean winning the fight. Vyra launched herself forward, bioelectric energy coursing around her like lightning. But Sarah had saved her most crucial calculation for last. She stepped aside at the precise moment, letting the Nephilim assassin's attack carry her directly into the space where Kralfak's neural field intersected with Zeraka's malfunctioning nanites. The resulting cascade of energy, neural disruption, and nanite chaos created exactly what Sarah had predicted, a localized feedback loop that knocked out all three remaining champions at once. 30 seconds, Sarah announced, standing alone among the fallen champions. Lesson complete. The arena was absolutely silent. 5 of the galaxy's greatest warriors lay unconscious or incapacitated around her, defeated not by superior strength or advanced technology, but by careful calculation and perfect timing. The luminary ambassador's voice shook slightly as they made the official announcement. The trial is concluded. Earth's champion has survived the required time. Humanity's independence is confirmed. Sarah walked to the center of the arena, her posture relaxed but dignified. I want to thank my opponents for this opportunity. They helped demonstrate something humanity has been trying to explain since we joined the galactic community. She looked up at the stunned audience. We don't need to be the strongest, fastest, or most advanced species. We don't need biological weapons or quantum states or perfect adaptability. What we need, what we've always had, is the ability to understand our opponents better than they understand themselves. The aftermath. The medical bay of the Centauri Combat Federation station was crowded with representatives from a dozen worlds. The 5 champions were recovering quickly, their enhanced bodies already repairing the damage from the brief but decisive combat. Sarah smiled as the medical drone finished its scan. Let them classify us however they want. They still don't understand what really happened in there. Then explain it to us, a deep voice rumbled. Xerxes stood in the doorway, his crystalline form showing hairline fractures that were already healing. Behind him, the other champions gathered, each watching Sarah with new eyes. You knew our capabilities, Vyra said, her bioelectric field now contained and controlled. But that alone doesn't explain how you orchestrated our defeat so precisely. Sarah sat up on the medical bed. I studied each of you for months. Not just your combat styles or abilities. I studied your psychological profiles, your past battles, your reactions under pressure. But most importantly, I studied how you work together. Or rather, how we don't. Kralfak chittered, his neural dampeners now recalibrated. You exploited our lack of coordination. More than that, Sarah explained. I exploited your assumptions. Each of you is the apex of your species' combat evolution. You've never needed to hold back, to consider how your abilities might interact with others. Why would you? You've never failed before. Echo's quantum form solidified. You turned our strengths into weaknesses. I turned your overconfidence into a weapon. Sarah corrected. Humans have spent our entire history being the underdogs. We've never been the strongest or fastest species, not even on our own planet. We survived because we learned to understand our opponents, to find the patterns they couldn't see themselves. Zara K stepped forward, her nanites now stable. You couldn't have predicted everything that happened in that arena. The timing, the interactions. Sarah laughed. Actually, I ran simulations of over 5,000 possible scenarios. The one that played out was probability variant 2847. Not my first choice, but well within acceptable parameters. The champions exchanged looks of disbelief. Admiral Chen couldn't help but smile at their reaction. This is what we've been trying to tell the galactic community, Sarah continued. Humanity's greatest strength isn't in our muscles or our technology. It's in our ability to adapt, to analyze, to understand. We don't need to be the best fighters when we can turn our opponent's best moves against them. A new voice joined the conversation. The luminary ambassador had arrived. The Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding humanity's status. The room fell silent. Sarah stood, facing the crystalline being. Humanity will not only retain its independence, the ambassador announced, but has been granted a seat on the Combat Federation's Strategic Advisory Board. It seems your species has much to teach us about the true nature of combat effectiveness. And what lesson would that be? Xerxes asked. Sarah smiled. That the most dangerous weapon in any fight isn't strength, speed, or advanced technology. It's understanding, both your opponent's capabilities and your own limitations. As the champions and officials filed out of the medical bay, Admiral Chen turned to his daughter. You know this changes everything. The other species won't underestimate us anymore. Good, Sarah replied, watching the stars through the station's window. Maybe now they'll start really paying attention to what humanity has to offer. We've never wanted to dominate the galaxy. We just wanted to be respected as equals. And if they see us as a threat instead. Sarah's expression turned thoughtful. Then they'll have learned the wrong lesson. We didn't survive and thrive across the galaxy because we're dangerous. We did it because we understand something they're only beginning to grasp. What's that? That true strength isn't about overwhelming power. It's about knowing exactly how much force to use, when to use it, and most importantly, when not to use it at all. The stars continued their eternal dance outside the window, but something had shifted in the galaxy's balance of power. Humanity had proven itself not through brute force or advanced technology, but through the very qualities that had allowed them to survive and evolve on Earth: intelligence, adaptability, and the wisdom to understand that sometimes the greatest victories come not from outfighting your opponents, but from outsmarting them. In the years that followed, the story of the 30-second victory became legend in the Centauri Combat Federation. But its true impact wasn't in the outcome of the fight. It was in how it changed the way the galaxy viewed humanity. They were no longer seen as primitive newcomers to be protected or controlled, but as equals whose unique perspective could reshape the understanding of combat, strategy, and power itself. And somewhere in the vastness of space, Commander Sarah Chen continued her work, teaching both humans and aliens alike that the greatest battles are won not with fists or weapons, but with understanding, adaptation, and the uniquely human ability to turn apparent weaknesses into unexpected strengths.